Hello, once again, this is Brother Teacher. I have a question. What do you think Africans think of Africans? I know that sounds like a loaded question, but I'm serious. Africans don't all love one another. Africa, first of all, is a continent, contrary to some people's understanding. Some people think Africa is a country, but it is not. Africa is a continent composed of 54 countries: north, south, east, and west. Some of those countries are richer than others of those countries, but all Africans don't see one another as brothers. I know this for a fact because I have some friends and or associates from different parts of that continent. And I have a friend that I spoke to not too long ago that told me that same thing, that it's a cultural thing to some degree. Uh, when you're separated by thousands of miles, it makes sense. It's no different than living in Indianapolis in America and going to New York. It's a different heartbeat, different mindset, mentality versus going to your southern states like Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia. A totally different mindset, mentality. People look at you differently. And that's typically only hundreds of miles of separation. So, pause for a moment. So, if Africans don't see one another as brothers, even though we think once they say, I'm from Africa, it means that they're Africa united. That's not true. There are some places in Africa where there are civil war going on. So how do Africans see black people in America and anywhere else for that matter? But I'm talking about America more specifically right now. Do they see us as their brothers? Now, this might seem sort of a loaded question again, but it's really not. I'm just being perfectly honest. I know some Africans, and a few of them are pretty decent individuals, at least on the surface. There's one African brother, more specifically, that I have known over the years. He was murdered. That brother was close to me. Uh, he was a cab driver, and he would pick me up many years ago, and we'd have some conversations. And a couple years had passed, and I hadn't seen him. And I found out that someone robbed him in his cab and murdered him. He, to my knowledge and from my experience, was one of the most genuine Africans that I had ever known, ever met and known. So I'll stop there with him, and I'll say this. The vast majority of Africans that I have been acquainted with, excuse my expression, are fake when it comes to their so-called uh, being genuine to black people in America. And I can only speak in respective of where I live in Ohio. But I don't think that is that much different, because most of these Africans that I know and have met have been to New York and lived in New York. They've been residents of New Jersey, of California. They've lived in France and Italy and various other places. So it's not like they've only been where I'm at. So they've been around. They've traveled. So when I say fake, I mean this. What I have learned, and I've said this in a previous video, I'm just regurgitating it, if you will. What I have learned is that, and I'm going to be nice and put it this way, most and or the majority of Africans don't see us as their brother, Black Americans that is, and that they only see what they can get from us, but they will not reciprocate the same. In other words, they'll set up a store, a stand on the street, and they'll sell their purses, their watches, their colognes, and their incense, and their perfumes, and various wares to us. And they'll say, my brother, my brother, my brother. And you can walk into their shops if they have a brick and mortar location. It's my brother, my brother, my brother. But they'll come to you in your own establishment if you have one, or if you have a function going on and you invite them there where it involves them spending money. They won't return the favor in kind. That's what I mean by reciprocity. I think you know what it means. They will not do that. Also, I notice that African men want to hook up with a black man's daughter, wife, girlfriend. They do. They want to sleep with your women. They want to go out with your women. They want to wear cologne and nice watches and bracelets and necklaces and jeans and clothing and drive nice cars. And they complain about prices when it comes down to them buying something from you. But their prices are escalated in whatever business that they have. Now, this is not going to feel good, but it's the truth. I won't be specific. This is only generality. I'm not going to be specific with anyone that I know, but anyone that's watching this can get the gist of what I'm saying, and I'm sure that you can ascertain that what I'm saying is correct because you more than likely have experienced this before. And if there are any Africans watching this video, if that's not you, then I'm not talking about you. But if you happen to be one of those that's watching this, I know you're probably fuming, not because it's wrong, but because it's right what I'm saying, because it's the truth, and I really don't care, because the truth is the truth, and the truth sheds light in darkness, and it's not right. So what am I saying in essence is this: we need to be very careful as black men and women in this country when we support someone who don't support us. Doesn't matter who you are. And while I'm on the subject of Africans, that's people of other cultures as well. This is not a hate message. This is a truth message. People from the Middle East also who buy up convenience stores or buildings and gas stations, and they place them in a poor neighborhood or a relatively poor neighborhood, and they carry products that black people use, and they sell liquor and tobacco and lottery and whatever, and they extract money from you. But when your child has a little league game, or your child is selling Girl Scout cookies and so forth, they don't want to participate in that when you ask them to. When you have a function, it's only about me, 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 me. Same thing is true with the Koreans who have hair stores. I'm serious. And I have a Korean friend or two that I love. I'm just stating it the way it is and keeping it 100, as they say. They set these places up, their hair stores up, in a black neighborhood because they know black women like to buy fake hair and nails and costume jewelry and things like this, eyelashes, the whole get up. They put it in your neighborhood, and again, they extract money from your neighborhood, but they don't put anything back. They take it to their neighborhood. They won't buy anything from you. Now, I know this was a hard pill to follow for some, but it was nice to swallow the pill. It should say something about character. And you know what's funny? And I don't mean facetious, I mean odd. I had to set an African friend of mine straight because he was asking me for things over the past several years, and I always would bend over backwards for him and do things for him. But when I asked him for something, I kept getting the cold shoulder and dismissed and put off and put off and put off until I had to say something to him the way I'm speaking to you now. The same decorum, if you will. And I mentioned to him, I said, "You're Muslim." I said, "Does Allah appreciate how you treat people when you go to pray to him as often as you do?" And he said, "Why are you bringing my religion in here?" I said, "Stop." I said, "You do pray to Allah, don't you? So how you treat your brother, allegedly, your brother, should matter to Allah, right? So while you're praying to Allah, you need to think about how you treat people other than taking in all of the time and never giving out." You know what? He hasn't spoken to me since, and I haven't seen him. And he used to come by frequently to this area where I am at because he did not expect his morals, his position to be challenged. But it was something that was much needed. It is what it is. Sometimes God sends people to get you to think and hopefully change. This has been your brother teacher. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you. Please always like, share, subscribe, and even donate to support my channel for more videos like this, and so on.